Stop saying you're welcome all the time when somebody thanks you for something you've done in English. Guys, there are better advanced English vocabulary, phrases, and expressions you should be using instead of you're welcome in different situations when speaking in English. In this video lesson, we'll go through 20 different ways you can better express you're welcome in English. Learners improve their English, boost their confidence to finally speak English confidently. If you'd like to drastically improve your confidence speaking welcome in English. Now the first phrase, and I use this phrase a lot in English, is my pleasure. My pleasure. Careful with the pronunciation, it's not plaisir. My pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure. Now this is a great phrase to be using if somebody has thanked you for helping them, for doing something for them, and you really enjoyed doing this. It was a pleasure for you to do this. This phrase, my pleasure, is great to be using in this situation. Again, pronunciation, my pleasure. My pleasure. Now, a more formal way of expressing the phrase my pleasure is with the phrase the pleasure is mine. The pleasure is mine. It's very polite, it's very formal, great to be using at work with colleagues. Again, the pleasure is mine. Another variation of this polite phrase is also it was my pleasure. It was my pleasure. So for example, maybe you've completed a task for your colleague. They're really happy. They're very grateful. They say, thank you, Bob, for doing that for me. You could use a phrase, it was my pleasure. It was my pleasure. Now the phrase, I know you do the same for me. Again, I know you do the same for me. It's a really polite and a great way to say you're welcome in English. Great to be using with friends, with family, in a work setting, when you really want to say you're just happy to have helped somebody. And you know that they will do the same for you. So if you know that somebody would also help you, you are happy to help them, use the phrase, I know you do the same for me, to express that it wasn't a big deal and you know that they would also help you out in the way that you have helped them out. Again, I know you'd do the same for me. I know you'd. I know you'd do the same for me. Now the phrase happy to help, really great way of expressing your welcome and to say that you really took great satisfaction out of doing that task or that thing for that person. Again, happy to help, happy to help, happy to help. Now the phrase not a problem, sometimes English speakers also say no problem, are both two informal ways used in conversational settings to say you're welcome in English. So for example, maybe I handed you a pen to use and you told me thanks, but because it's not really a big deal to me, say, hey, no problem, or no problem. Careful, don't be rolling the R here. No problem, or not a problem. Now, an even more informal way of saying not a problem or no problem is using the phrase don't mention it. I use this phrase quite often when I help somebody and it wasn't really a big thing for me to do. They say thank you and I say don't mention it. Yeah, you really don't need the thanks. That's what you're expressing with this phrase, don't mention it. But it's a great informal expression to be using in everyday conversations. Again, don't mention it. Don't mention it. Now, before we continue, guys, if you're loving this lesson and you'd like to see more vocabulary lessons, make sure to let me know by smashing that like button. Like this video and also join me in the discussion in the comments below this video and tell me what vocabulary lessons would you like to see in the future? Now, you could also use the phrase no worries instead of you're welcome. No worries is a great phrase to be using when somebody says thank you to you and you don't want them to worry about that thing that you've done for them and to feel somehow in debt to you. No worries is a great phrase to say instead of you're welcome. Again, no worries. Or the phrase, it's nothing. Another great phrase to say, it wasn't really a problem, don't worry about it, you're welcome, it's nothing. Great to be using in conversational settings. Again, it's nothing. Now the phrase anytime or even oh anytime, again, anytime or oh anytime, great phrases to be using when you'd like to say you're welcome but you know, you really like helping that person. It's not a problem. You've done something really small for them and you're happy to help them in the future. If you feel like you're in this situation, could use the phrase "oh anytime" or "anytime" to say you're welcome. Again, anytime, anytime, oh anytime, oh anytime. Now you could also use the phrase "anything for you" and add somebody's name to say you're welcome. Now, for example, maybe my husband. So my husband, I asked him to make a cup of coffee, said thank you, and he said anything for you, Adriana. So here, instead of just saying you're welcome, anything for you, he's expressing that he'll always make me a cup of coffee and he really likes to make me cups of coffee. So the phrase anything for you and adding a name, for example, anything for you, Adriana, it's a really great phrase to be using for somebody maybe you have a really close relationship with and you really enjoy doing things and helping them out. Again, pronunciation, anything for you, anything for you, anything for you. Now, another variation of this phrase is the phrase anything to make you happy, anything to make you happy. So maybe you're doing a lot of things for somebody you like, you love, somebody you really care about, and you're happy to do these small tasks for them, and they're always saying thank you. Instead of saying you're welcome, anything to make you happy is a great phrase to be using instead of you're welcome in these situations. Again, anything to make you happy, anything to make you happy. Please note, guys, that this phrase can also be a little bit sarcastic at times. So if you're maybe in a work setting and you're always doing something for somebody, they're just saying thanks, 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 somebody's bossing you around, somebody says to you anything to make you happy, they can also be a little bit sarcastic in these situations. So for example, maybe my husband's always telling me, Adriana, can you make me a cup of coffee? And I go to make him a cup of coffee every single hour. And then he's always saying thanks, thanks, thanks. And then I could use with a different tone, different pitch, anything to make you happy, be sarcastic in this situation. So be careful with the tone that you're using and also pay attention to how somebody is using this tone with you, depending on the context and the situation. Now the phrase, it was nothing, it was nothing. Really great phrase to use instead of you're welcome. If you want to say that that small task, that thing that you did for that person really wasn't a big deal. It was easy. It was nothing. Great phrase to be using in this situation. Now, 3 really formal ways of expressing you're welcome, which you could use in a work setting, in a professional setting, talking to somebody you have some respect for, could be glad to have helped, glad to have helped. Careful pronunciation here, it's not helped. Glad to have helped, T ending here. Glad to have helped. Or glad to be of assistance, glad to be of assistance. Or glad to help, glad to help. Now, out of these 3 phrases, glad to help is the least formal. The other 2 are more formal than glad to help, but glad to help is still formal. Great phrase to be using in polite professional settings. Now, you could also use a variation of these phrases with the phrase, I'm happy to have helped you. I'm happy to have helped you. Great phrase to be using with your boss, for example, if you helped your boss out with a task and he says, thank you, Adriana, for your help. And you could use, instead of just saying, you're welcome, I'm happy to have helped you, to express that you really liked helping him, doing the task, and you're really happy to have been given a chance to help him and to accomplish some common goal. Again, I'm happy to have helped. I'm happy to have helped. Now, a less formal way of expressing this could also be with the phrase, happy to help. Happy to help. It is still a polite phrase, but great to be using in conversational settings. Again, happy to help. Happy to help. Now the phrase, it's the least I could do. It's the least I could do. This is a really great phrase to be using to express your welcome to somebody that's really helped you a lot in the past. So maybe you have a friend that's always helping you out. You're maybe not return the favor, you are, but that's just the way it is. They've helped you more in the past, and now it's your turn to return that favor, to do something for them. And you've done something for them, and they say thank you. But because they've always helped you, they've been there when you need it, you can use the phrase, it's the least I can do for you, to express that they've been such a great support and help to you in the past. Instead of just saying you're welcome, it's the least I could do for you, really expresses your gratitude for their help in the past. Again, it's the least I could do for you. It's the least I could do for you. Now, a less formal way of expressing this could be using the phrase, it's okay, and it's all right. It's all right. Not all right. No, all right. All right. It's okay. It's alright. Remember guys that practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more you watch this video lesson. You can watch this video lesson once, twice, 3 times or 4 times is what I recommend. Apply and use a shadowing technique. So watch this video lesson a few times, repeat out loud so that you are getting the daily speaking practice you deserve to improve your confidence speaking in English. Remember guys, if you found this video lesson useful, make sure to smash that like button. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn on notifications so that you know, get that bell when I post my next video lesson here to help you improve your confidence speaking in English. If you'd like more lessons to help you improve your English, make sure to watch these 2 lessons here. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in my next lesson. Bye for now.